This is One-on-One. Dr. Eric Sanderson is a senior conservation ecologist at Wildlife Conservation Society. Good to see you.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Manhattan 2409. I hear that. First of all, it's an odd name, but more importantly, it's an important initiative. It's a website.
It's a website.
Describe it.
It's an online forum for designing the ecology of New York City, creating sustainability and resilience.
That sounds great, but make it real, because I think we're going to show some visuals.
Yeah,
so we're here at 66th and Broadway. You can see the subway sign right over your corner, over your shoulder, right? Mm-hmm. We're here.
Right.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, but it hasn't always been like this.
What do you mean?
I wrote a book about Manhattan when it was Mannahatta, the island of many hills. As you can imagine, 400 years ago when the Europeans first arrived, and there wasn't a street here, there wasn't any of these buildings, there was forests here and streams and meadows. It was actually a very interesting shrubland just over here, serpentine grassland, an endangered species that weren't endangered at that time because there was lots of room for all the species, all the wildlife.
So what's the objective in all this? What are you trying to do?
Well, you know, what's the most important question of our time? What makes everything possible? It's our relationship to nature and what nature gives us, how it sustains our lives. And we know that as a civilization, humanity is using more resources than nature has to give. We've been doing that for 100 years. We know there's more people now than there's ever been, 7 billion people, and more of them live in cities before. So Mannahatta 2409 is trying to put a seed in New York City. It's about how do we plan for the future? How do we make our cities places that are going to last, not for next year, not for the next mayor's term, but for hundreds of years to come.
For 2409?
So Henry Hudson comes in 1609 to Manhattan. 2009 is the 400-year anniversary. 2409 is 400 years from now. The idea is to sort of stretch people's imaginations and to actually engage people in imagining a future that's going to work, a future that's going to work for them and for the environment.
So, Doctor, people go on the site. What do they see?
Yeah. So they go on the site, they can see the ecosystems of any block in Manhattan today, where ecosystems include the streets and the buildings as well as the parks. They can see the ecosystems of that area 400 years ago, and then they can change them. They can actually paint them. They can paint green roofs on the building. So this is the splash page on the site. It rotates through visions that people have put in of Manhattan. So they can actually change the ecosystems, and then they can see their environmental performance. They can see how it changes the carbon flows, the water flows, the biodiversity, and the population.
Why would they want to do that?
Because we need to imagine how we make cities and environments that work.
But are you trying to change public policy? I mean, Mayor de Blasio, all of a sudden says, hey, I heard what these guys are doing. I think I need to get my environmental team engaged in this discussion, along with Governor Cuomo and others in the legislature and the city council. Let's make some policy decisions. Is that what it's about, or just to get people on a website to know what's possible?
No, that's one part of it. Hurricane Sandy.
What does Hurricane Sandy have to do with this?
What Hurricane Sandy was so damaging because the wetlands and the beaches that used to protect the city are no longer there. There's buildings in the way. There used to be fringing wetlands all around Manhattan.
What does it mean, fringing? Explain that to folks who may not understand from an ecological point of view.
Yeah, like if you've ever been to the South Shore of Long Island or the shore of New Jersey, you see barrier beaches and you see wetlands behind them, right? So a hurricane comes, it hits the beach, the water washes over, goes in the salt marsh, and then drains back into the ocean.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
No harm. That's right. We've changed that. We've changed it over a 400-year period. It's going to take a long time to fix that. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen just in Mayor de Blasio's term. It's going to require us all to work together to imagine the future and then to set in motion that future.
And you want people to go on the site, see what's possible, and then do what?
And to share their visions, and to create a vision, and then to share it.
With whom?
So, with everybody else. So, we need ways to crowdsource our future. This is crowdsource for everybody to participate in imagining the future. The idea is you go on the website, you create your idea, what you want for your block, or for your neighborhood, or for your part of the city. It's Manhattan now, but we're in the process of spreading it over the rest of New York City. And then you can work privately for as long as you want, and then you can market public. And then everybody can see your vision. And we can have a competition. Who can create the vision that has the less greenhouse gas emissions? Who has the vision that has the less stormwater drainage? Who has the vision that has the most species diversity? And then those visions can talk to each other. How many people do we want in the city? How many jobs do we want to have? How does that relate to biodiversity? How does that relate to carbon emissions? How does that relate to stormwater drainage? One of the hard things about the environment and nature is it's many parts that are all connected together. There are people that focus on this part and this part and this part. My job as an ecologist is to show how the parts are connected together.
Why don't we hear any discussion from Mayor de Blasio? This is not a criticism of the mayor because we didn't hear from Mayor Bloomberg. Why don't we hear city officials having major policy discussions about this and saying we have a serious issue here in New York City, or at least in this borough, pretty significant borough, Manhattan. And if we don't have this discussion, bad things are going to happen, because you're about to tell me bad things haven't happening, are going to get worse. Because otherwise, why would we do this?
Well, that's the standard environmental take, is to show you what the bad things are and to point to what needs to be fixed. Just like social justice advocates, just like everyone else. This website is allowing you to proactively imagine the future and to do it not in some crazy way, but actually to see the results. Show me the data. This website shows you the data.
Yeah, but here's the, my job is to ask questions from a devil's advocate perspective. And here it is. But here it is. Yeah. There's development going on all around us.
That's right.
And that development going on around us is being framed based on jobs, based on the economy of Manhattan. There are groundbreakings taking place every day where we celebrate more concrete, more development, because it equals more jobs. And you're sitting there saying, wait a minute, is that what we want? You're not saying it isn't, but you're asking the question, if that is the direction we go in, there are some serious problems. And I just don't hear that other discussion.
Well, the underlying thing that, I think you're getting at is that the ecology of our world and the economies of our world are disconnected to each other.
They are.
And they need to be connected together. And they need to be connected in real ways that mean decisions in everyday's lives. I mean, Hurricane Sandy is an example of how it works and how it doesn't work. What's going to happen because of Hurricane Sandy? Many people's flood insurance rates are going to go up. That's the ecology.
Do you think that's a wake-up call? Hurricane Sandy should have been a wake-up call.
It is a wake-up call. I disagree with you a little bit. The Bloomberg administration, they had Plan NYC, they had the Million Trees Initiative. They were talking about some of these issues and pushing it forward the way they can. The de Blasio administration, we're waiting to hear what they're going to do on their environmental agenda.
So you think that the elected officials in the city have made this a priority, and you like the direction we're going in?
There's great people in the Parks Department. There's people in the DEP that are doing the right thing. There's a new collaboration between the city and the Park Service about Jamaica Bay.
Okay. I stand corrected, but
there are things going on.
I just don't hear a lot of speeches about it. You saying action is taking place, and that's more important. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We'll keep talking off the air.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Hackensack University Health Network, County College of Morris, PSE&G, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, Wells Fargo, Celgene Corporation, and by Kessler Foundation. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.